Modified cars get hot. We've got a 56 Ford here that's running an 8. It's got a mild cam and a few other trick up things in it. Headers, exhaust, close to the floor pan, and it sucks to drive. Now we've done a treatment here on the left hand side, and we've just got the standard exhaust, which your exhaust shop would have fitted up. We've got mufflers down the back here that are close to the floor. You drive this thing, your feet, they get hot, your ass gets hot, your rear occupant gets hot. We're going to drop this thing down, measure the difference on the driver's side and the passenger side to show you what you can achieve by using two simple products. So we've got the interior stripped down to the bare floor pan. Now we've just got an infrared thermometer gun here, which is a laser pointer, which will measure the surface temperature. So you can see in here at the moment it's around 15 degrees. We'll crank up the motor, we'll see that warm up. We'll follow the path down the driver's side, get a reading there, and then we'll follow it down the passenger side where we have our heat shield products and we can measure the difference coming through. Let's go. So we just run the car up to temp here. Thermo's kicked in at 180. We'll go in the car, you can see the pipes, we're pushing 300 around the collector there. We'll go jump in the car and we'll measure the difference. So you can see here we're just over 180. Now down on this driver's side, you can see we're pushing around 70 degrees. We'll go on the passenger side where we've got our heat shield, 34, half. So down here where that exhaust path run, even here it's warm to touch. We're running around 54. Passenger side, where our pipe is and our shield is, 35. The rear mufflers we'll have a look at too. So under here, the rear muffler's sitting around here. Around 38 degrees, and where we've got shield underneath, 10 degrees lower. So we'll take you underneath now and we'll show you the difference on what we've set up on each side. So to walk you through how we did it, we've used an embossed aluminium here, which is a multi-layer sheet. Now this is a fold and form. We've got that finger gap with some mounts, just retrofitted. You could weld studs on, you could do whatever you need, but we've got a bracket there that'll take a radiator hose clamp or a pipe clamp. That'll mount that on. We've formed it where we needed to. And then up the front, where we haven't been able to, like around this collector area, we've used a peel and stick product. So it's an aluminium face with a composite core stuck directly to the floor pan up there. And we've also used it down here under the muffler where we couldn't actually build a shield, or it was hard to build a shield. Some vehicles, you don't have the room to physically suspend and create that air gap off here where you'll go direct to the floor. In this application, you can see this floor pan's been covered with like a bituminous coating, which were good. You know, they were all the rage a couple of decades ago. They're horrible now. You can't stick anything to them, they soak up oil, all that sort of thing. So what we'll do on this driver's side, we'll replicate what we've done on that side and give you the guide on how to do it with some basic tools and two materials. So underneath the car, we've got a similar exhaust flange there. What I'm going to do is put this on this, tap around it and let that bulge up as a blister to give us our clearance. On this side here, we've got the crossover pipe, which is effectively doing that. So what I'm going to do there is form this in there to blister it out and create a dome. And where I've drawn that line there, we actually want this to kick at 45. So I'm going to get the pliers there. I'm going to basically create a pleat, shrink it in on itself without cutting it, and just fold it over and hammer form it into itself. So through here, I'm really just trying to create a V. Now I'm not using anything special here. You can see I've just picked up a bracket. There's just a bit of scrap steel as a plate. And I'm basically trying to create that 90-degree fold, and then I'm going to pull that over itself. And the idea is that you can see it almost happening there. This is coming around, turning the corner. So I can almost do it with my hand there, where I press it. Just needs a bit more force in here. You can see it starting to go there where it's curving. So I've pretty much done that by hand there. Now, just trying to get this pretty to fade out. We'll tap that back into itself and it'll create a nice form. So you can see there, we've got our curve in it. We'll take this and fit it up to the pipe. If we wanted to go more, we could do another pleat down here. If you're super fussy, you could create a female form and hammer it in with a big sheet. But functionally, this is going to work. Inherently, it's got more strength in here. Comes up pretty neat. The pipe will cover that. From the other side, it's still going to look pretty sharp. Perfect. So you can see a quick couple of minutes on the bench with some basic tools. You don't need to be a coach builder. You can get this shaped up, and it's pretty well right here. You'll find that you can tweak it a bit more by hand, but as you put it on and bolt it up, you're going to find too that it's going to make it stiff, and you can ply it around a bit. So it's just choosing where to put holes now. Looks like we'll carry over these two original holes. At the front, the hole collides with it, so we're going to put two more holes up here. I'll get a black texture, we mark them on, bolt it up. So an easy way to drill this is using a stepper drill instead of a twist drill. A twist drill want to bite and run all the way through. The stepper drill works quite well. It sort of seals over the edge of the aluminium as you go through it. So we just nipped this up. Now we've still got an opportunity to move it around and bend it and form it a bit, but it's looking pretty good. We'll adjust this back one to suit the front one here because it's all set in by our clearance up here. So that's the passenger area done. Up the front here, we're going to sneak another one in here. So this one's going to take a bit of cutting. We're going to cut this angle on it. So we'll show you how to do that, cut it and form it over and get it in that tight area. Just got an offcut here from the other side, which was the amount we cut off. It's got the curve on it though, so I'm just going to bend it back on itself and use it as a template. So if we look at that, we're trying to go as forward as possible in car. And if we add 210 onto this, we'll be right. So I've added around 10 mil onto this because we actually want to, if we leave it raw, this is what you're going to have. We want to be able to fold it back on itself and seal it up. So get yourself some tin snips. This stuff cuts pretty easy. On any corner here where you've got a sharp edge, cut a small 45 on it. So you can see there, we've got a gentle sweep on this. Now you can be creative, get any form of tool, shape, object that you need to create it. If you want to get more fancy, you can profile cut some timber and hammer form, sandwich it over. But it's pretty light gauge. You can get away with basic setup and do it. So we push that back to curve now. And that's got our curve that's hemmed back on itself. It's got plenty of strength. We'll put it back in the car and figure out what else we need to do to it. So on this side, we've got some clearance issues where the pipe's really tight. It's always a good idea to try and do this before you put your exhaust in. Retrofitting it's not too bad. I'm going to drop this out, put another blister in it, and it'll still fit up, and it's covering most of that rising heat that's hitting the floor pan. And this side's right under the driver's seat, so this side is the one that's going to give us a bit of discomfort. So we've covered as much of the pipe as we can. Now, we can tweak and bend these into shape so they look pretty. Up here at the front here, we've got an issue though, where the collector is to the firewall. Ideally, had the owner known how much heat this had put out, he would have done this at the time and it would have been easy. Engine out, everything out, but he didn't. So we're stuck with the problem. But what we've got there is that we've got a peel and stick product here, and I've made a template here that we've cleaned that all down. We're going to get that up in there and stick it on. You can check out what we've done on this side. That's a good example of the finished version. To do this though, sheet of clear film, transparent film, traced it on, made a hack pattern out of there, and then we've related it to this. It's already been wiped down. The challenge I've got is peeling the back off and getting it stuck in there. So this being a self-adhesive product, it's peel and stick. As soon as I reveal that facer, and if I touch that with my greasy hands, I'm going to limit the performance of the adhesive. What I'm going to do here is the old tail trick, where I'm going to peel this back. I'm going to tape a tail on this, and I'm going to let it hang down here so I can put the sheet up in there and then peel the tail out. It'll be in position, and then it's going to stick straight on. So you can see above this muffler here, we don't have room for an embossed fold and form heat shield where we need gap both sides, so we've used our peel and stick. Now to get that shape up there, all we did was got a bit of transparent film and we made a template. So that template I can flip over to this side. It shadows the muffler, so that radiant heat coming up, we're capturing it directly above it. Now we'll take this template, we'll trace this onto our embossed sheet, cut it out, bring it back over here and install it. So what you might notice here is I've just drawn some radiuses on the corner here. To help you understand why I'm doing that is, if you can imagine this square surface here, the percentage of contact on this earpiece here is going to be a lot less. Usually with self-adhesive products, this is where people will have issues, because that will start to peel away, and over time it'll get worse and worse and worse. As soon as we put a radius on this, our percentage of contact and our strength on that adhesive is much more. So when you draw out your sheet, avoid all square corners, just cut some nice radiuses on them. Now our two choices here when it comes to cutting this: scissors, but this being an aluminium face, we're going to damage the blades over time. It is easier just to get a set of tin snips and then cut around. So before we peel the backing off and stick this in, we want to put it in position and basically form it into shape. On the other side, you'll see we ended up getting a wrinkle here where it wanted to gather, so we put a relief cut in it. So we'll throw this in position. Now you can see here, we've got this pleat. If we stuck that on, there's always going to be an air gap in there. Over time, you're going to get water, dirt, everything built up in there. So we want to make sure that adhesive is stuck down. So for this pleat, what I'm going to do is do a relief cut in there that's going to allow it to shrink up and butt up to each other. Yep. What I've got here is just some masking tape. I haven't got the backing removed off it, so this adhesive's not exposed. I'm going to just dot the edges so we've got the position, because our next move is to pull this out, clean it down, and then these will be our datum points that we can just put it up, locate it, it's in the right position. So just before you're about to put it on, get yourself some solvent-based wax and grease remover, wipe down the area so it's clean. We've already given it a good clean before, but we'll give it one more before we go. Now what you want to do is avoid touching this adhesive with your skin, because you're going to contaminate the glue and reduce the performance on it lasting. Figure out which way our sheet goes, which is that way. I'm going to leave that on, feed this up, and then pull the sheet out from the front. Being a pressure sensitive self-adhesive, you want to use something like this application roller here to push the product or the material up and get the adhesive to bite in. So that's all our exhaust heat shielding done underneath. We've got our peel and stick areas above these mufflers where we've got no room to use our embossed aluminium sheets. We've got our embossed aluminium sheets running down the length of the twin system up to the collectors. At the collector, where we've had no room, we've used the peel and stick again. So we've pretty much covered the whole interior place above the exhaust. We can put this car on the ground now and start on insulating the interior from the floor pan up. So another tip we've got for you here is we've got an aluminium foil tape, which will just allow you to seal the edges. So there is a concern people have, will this load up with water? If you get in there with a high pressure washer, you can upset it. The aluminium foil tape, seal around all the edges. You can get a nice finish like we've done up here. Your other option is to get like a urethane glue. I tend to stay away from the silicons. A polyurethane, like a Sikaflex style of thing, you can also use to beat around and seal it up. The foil tape here though gives it a nice finish, and you can seal it right over. You can see up here, it'll take the form of the embossed sheet, push that in, and you can push all the edges in, and then you can knife around it and get a nice factory looking finish. Now this is where you're going to pick up the bulk of your heat reductions, and we're trying to stop that heat before it becomes conductive in the floor pan. On the interior here, you'll see that we have done a treatment where we've installed our sound dampening mat along with our mass noise liner light carpet underlay. Now these materials are going to reduce some heat, however they're a band-aid solution or a blanket solution. Primarily they're there for sound insulation, also to give you that comfort under your foot. They will reduce some heat, but it's minimal compared to what we've achieved underneath. So the post-test, car's at temperature, we're just taking it for a run, and we're not getting much here. Dan's been on the pedal, we've turned the tyres, we've had the revs up. We're still only getting 24 degrees. That was that real hot spot over there on the driver's side. Now the same on the passenger side. We're just getting standard floor temperature. So that's with our heat shield underneath, and then with our treatments of our deadener and our underlays in there, we've taken it back to what you'd expect on a brand new vehicle. So it's not going to be a sweaty summer. Dan's going to be able to drive the car, probably drink less too, which is a good thing. So all in all, a good result.